AI agents in your CI sound spooky, right? Well, not necessarily. I want to show you a way that you can actually incorporate AI agents in your CI pipelines that will not be that scary actually. And we can take the baby step approach. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about this new thing that everyone is starting to talk about, which is the Agentic CI. We'll figure out what that means. And this video is relevant whether you are a DevOps engineer that runs a lot of pipelines, or whether you're a small startup, maybe you're a small engineering team running your own pipelines for your SaaS startup. This is relevant for everyone, and I think you can benefit from actually starting to introduce AI agents to your CI pipelines. Let's explore what Agentic CI is. So I've heard this buzzword coming up a few times. I know Dagger are pushing it. I've seen it on GitLab as well. Basically, the idea is introducing AI agents to your CI. We see AI agents working with developers all the time, and we use these tools, but maybe it's time to actually utilize these tools in our CI systems as well and improve our CI process. And it doesn't necessarily mean that now AI runs everything in your CI pipelines. You don't have to go all that way. And I know, we're DevOps engineers. We fear change. And also, we're very used to deterministic systems, right? The whole idea behind CI pipelines is to know that whatever ran on the developer's machine will run on staging and will run in production. And that if we run the same build twice, the results will be the same. And AI is breaking from that pattern. And yes, this could be scary, and it could have security implications, and it could break production. But let's see how we can still use AI agents in our CI pipelines to make them better. And it is possible. And we'll take a baby step approach, meaning let's add a few things that will improve and optimize our pipelines, but not necessarily change the essence of them. We will not make changes that could harm our stability. Maybe just improve it. So we can start by adding a few things, and that's what the Agentic CI as of now really means. So we can address things like security and optimizing a few things during its run and adding observability and things that augment your CI pipelines. And I want to give you a couple of examples of how I implemented it. So I'm starting to play with it, and let's see what you can do. For example, we know how much developers like reading build logs and failures. From my experience in most companies, engineers just don't like going into GitHub Actions or Jenkins and looking at the actual logs and reading them. They'd rather just open a ticket to DevOps and, why is my build failing? Well, apparently it fails because you have TypeScript issues, but you haven't checked it on your machine. So how can we use AI agents to actually improve on that process and allow developers to see more? Now, in this example, I'm not saying let's auto remediate everything and lose control over our code, because you're afraid of it, right? So here's a good example. So what I added here is a failure handler. So if the build fails, I will be using Claude Code to actually analyze why the build failed and just analyze it and then come up with a suggestion how to fix it. So what's the next step? And that's actually very useful. And the result, by the way, is something interesting that we can do. So we can make a few decisions. So in this example, what I said is that if the build fails, if the test or any other phase of the build process fails, what I want to do is this. If this is the main branch, I will open a ticket. So a GitHub issue will be opened with all information and telling the developers, the engineers, what to do to fix it. And if this is a pull request, we can actually add a comment, for example, or maybe we can just add a diff or something in that comment to make it clearer as to what the engineer has to do before submitting and merging this pull request. So that's something small that can actually help our developers and reduce the back and forth between us and them. And we have more visibility, quicker fix, again, not automatic, but it kind of takes over. So this is an easy example, but sometimes we can have different reasons why the pipeline failed, and they could be very hard for someone who doesn't actually know what it means, the failure means, to actually debug it, or maybe it's not their actual domain of expertise. So this will give them a hint, and maybe they can reach out to the person who can help them. So this is one thing, tiny thing. Again, this runs at the end of the CI. This will not interfere in no way with your precious CI pipelines and their results, but they will give you more information. Another thing I added, another idea for you to explore, is that I added a step, a build agent. It basically uses Cloud Code to go over the code itself, go over the diff. Okay, so it actually looks at what the difference is between in this case, this commit, this pull request to the main branch, and figure out if for that specific code, if we have enough test coverage. Maybe the developers did not add any tests. So it does two things. So the first thing is to actually analyze it, see if we have test coverage. If not, we can reject it, add another comment, maybe create a GitHub issue if this is on the main branch already. Maybe it's not built past, but there is not enough test coverage, so we can add that. And then what it does, it also generates the missing tests. Okay, so we have a developer created a feature, they pushed it, maybe they even merged it to production, but they haven't tested it. And while the code could run, maybe there's a problem. So what our AI agent using Cloud Code will do is actually write the test and execute it, the missing test. So technically we now have, at least in our CI, we have test coverage for this feature. And it will write the test, it will generate the missing tests. And then later, it will actually run it with the test coverage. And we can see in this example that we picked up on a problem with the code and created a comment on the pull request saying that, hey, there's a problem with the code, right? It doesn't do what it is meant to do. So we have two things now. We were telling the engineer that A, your code has problems, and B, you should write tests for it, because obviously that didn't work the first time. Now, these are two ideas, two things that you can add. And of course, Agentic CI, if you see other articles and other things about this, they all talk about adding security tests and observability. What I really want to explore these days is actually optimizing build time. So how to make your CI pipelines actually execute what is needed. Maybe we are running too many tests and it takes too long. Maybe there are things we can shave just because we are aware of the context of the changes, and it actually, the agents will know better than the engineer in most cases, the implications of these changes over the system. And maybe we can reduce a few things. Maybe we can say that, okay, we take a little risk. We're saying, I know that 10% of the time it will fail us in some way, but maybe it is worth it if we can shave off an hour of the build time by reducing tests or other things that are not necessary for that specific change set. Okay, we're just changing a CSS. Maybe we don't have to run all the pipeline. Maybe we can skip a few things. So that's something I'm going to explore, and it is really interesting. But I really wanted to give you ideas on how AI can fit in your CI/CD pipelines and maybe help you a bit. It could add documentation, again, security, testing. It can do quite a bit. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this gave you a few ideas. I know that while planning and recording this video, I got a few ideas as to things that I really want to test with this approach. And the future is here, so might as well join.